Raheem Sterling once again showing, starting where he left off from last season, new levels again.
Yeah, he's taken his finishing to a different level, and that's the difference. He's always been a threat, and even at Liverpool, you know, he was always a handful. You had to sort of make sure that you allocated for, you know, damage he would do to your opposition. But if he had chances, 9 times out of 10 he wouldn't take them. But now he does, and that's the difference.
Some players it doesn't come to, though, does it? They spend their whole life missing opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And Will Zaha, who's obviously been in the news this week, that's the one area of his game that he needs still to finalise to make sure he gets that 10, 15 goals a season and he become a different product altogether. But Sterling, for sure, is the real deal.
Pards, as a manager, when a player has had a great season, to you, what do you say to them to make sure that they do go again, that motivation's still there?
Well, I think, as he showed yesterday, Sterling, he's got, you know, that confidence. When you've got that inner confidence in a player, you don't really need to do much of them. You know, you can just see it's abound in training and they're scoring goals for fun. And he looks so assured in his personality as well. You know, the stuff he's done on racism, and now he's becoming kind of a bit of a leader, Raheem Sterling, and all that is showing on the pitch. And you know, and as a manager, when you see that, you know, you can see this player growing in front of your eyes. It's great, and you can just leave them. It's the ones who are struggling you've got to work with a little bit harder.
We've got to talk about Pep a little bit, because his desire to win football matches it's endless, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's been at the top for so many years, and obviously his playing career is one of the few top players who's now become, you know, the top manager. So he's used to winning. He only understands winning, and I don't think he's ever been in a process where he's been fighting relegation or anything, probably in his career. So that's what drives him, and you can understand he's searching for excellence all the time. Their net spend is way above anybody else's over the last 3 or 4 years. Of course, he has the luxury of having the best players, but he can deal with the best players, and that's an art in itself.
Somebody said to me the other day, would Messi fit in that team? And I went, Messi would fit in anybody's team.
But right now, Messi's levels, you think Pep would have him in that team?
I don't think you ever turn down a Lionel Messi. You play him or you have him whatever football club you're at. Yeah, in my opinion, not yours.
I don't know, I went over to see Barcelona take on, it was when they was playing Man United in the Champions League, and Messi's games evolved differently, that he was actually spending most of his time. He knew when to come into the game and when to stay out of it. It was like he was saving himself. And just looking how Pep plays the game now, everyone is high press, 100% tempo. So I don't know whether that would just be a question. Yes, I understand, Messi is Messi, he's going to win you games. But just seeing how every single player for City is pressing, closing down, it's a different tempo. Yeah,
but, you know, I've seen a lot of Barcelona, but their front three don't come back at all. They leave, you know, the defending to the 7 that's behind. So, you know, that's just the way it's ingrained into their system. If he went to Man City, of course, as you say, it's a different proposition. And but he's such a great player, he'd be able to adapt to anything, wouldn't he?
Without
he's
doubt,
an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the thing. Everyone's talking in City, the team that's going to do it again.
Yeah, I can't see past them. I think they're strong. I like the midfield player they brought in. I think he's going to add to them. He looked in control yesterday. He made a couple of mistakes around the last third, where he's getting to the tempo of the Premier League, which is that much faster in closing down and pace. But once he gets that, then they're going to have another massive asset, and they got 2 great players for every position. So you could put their second team out and probably finish in the top 6.
Yeah, and your former club, West Ham, they struggled yesterday, but overall, how do you think they'll do this season?
Well, you look at the sign, there's 60,000 people in there yesterday. That stadium is now settled down. You can see that the fans have kind of accepted the change from Upton Park, which was their home. And now it's just about getting a great team there, and that's what they're building to do. They're in that second tier of top teams where you're not getting the best players. You're having to take gambles here and there, and you're paying 20 million, 15 million when the other top teams are playing 60 million. So it's always a little bit of a gamble, and hopefully they've got that right. But yesterday, that's a tough draw, I think, to be at home against Man City in your first game. That's probably the last thing he needed. And to actually score 5 was a big blow. So they got a tough week this week to get themselves and get some momentum going. But if they get momentum, they're one of the few clubs that can challenge that group up the top.
I think you're bob on there. If it's later in the season and you've got Manchester City coming to town, your supporters will accept you sitting back and trying to defend against the champions. But if it's the first game of the season, you've got to have a go. And if you have a go, City will be you.
Yeah, and as West Ham manager and obviously Newcastle, you're under pressure to at home to take the game to the opposition, whoever they are. That's parcel of managing a team of that structure. So it was a tough call yesterday, and they got well beat.
Talking about calls, new to the Premier League this season, VAR had its part to play in that game. Are you for it?
Well, I am for it because I've been on the end of decisions that, that kill you. And Chris, wasn't a manager for long, but he was a very good manager at his time, will know that it eats you up, when you get a bad decision. So now with VAR, it's almost like the decisions are going to be correct. Although yesterday, that offside one where this rule of it's offside or it's not offside, that line where it's always been grey in the past, where it favoured attackers, is now becoming not grey, it's black and white. And that's the one side of it that I'm a little bit aggrieved about. And also a question for you, because you've done the course, right, the VAR course? Yeah.
Did you do it? Stockley Park?
I was, yeah. I thought it was good, to be honest.
Yeah, if Rice hadn't cleared that, would that have been retaken, or...?
No, even though the goalkeeper's foot wasn't on the line, that wasn't picked up. It was to do with Declan Rice encroachment.
Yeah, but if he hadn't cleared it, if it had come to somebody else, then they still would have had a retake?
No
Okay.
retake.
It's only because he had the advantage to be able to clear it that then it has to be retaken.
Declan, what are you getting involved for?
If he gutted, I was with him the other day. He's such a nice lad. And he said he really wanted to start off the pre-season. He said he had a good one. But the season, because last season, the same opening day, it was 4-0 they lost?
Yeah.
So he's going to be
It was interesting
devastated.
yesterday when that goal went against Manchester City and lifted the stadium at West Ham, and they almost got one back. And Pep said after, didn't he? He just lost concentration. So VAR can maybe create something different in the stadium, which is, because at the moment it's a bit of a negative. You're waiting. But obviously, if you get the decision and you're the home team, it's going to give you a lift.
Yeah. We started talking earlier about you've had some time out. You said you went travelling. But I read a really interesting article that you did recently, and you said you feel like you needed to step away for a little bit.
Yeah, because I've done like 10 years in the Premier League, and it's tough. It's tough on your family and tough on you as a coach and a motivator to sometimes come out and have a rest. And I think it is good for managers to do that. Sometimes it's enforced, and sometimes if you're Pep Guardiola, you get the chance to go to New York for a year out of choice. But I think you do need to rest, and I've enjoyed the rest. I want to go back to work now. I mean, I miss being on that coaching field for sure, and motivating people. That's what I've always done, and that's what I want to do.
Do managers forget the time that they've had as manager? When you have that little bit of time off, you forget the heartache and the pain and the sleepless nights.
Yeah, I mean, your brain never switches off. Even when you've won, you're laying in bed on that Saturday night before or Sunday night before you go back into work on Monday, thinking about things that you got to do, things you got to cross, and players you might have left out, got to address him and make sure he's okay. And your brain's just constantly ticking over. But when you're off work, constantly ticking over about the roses and what I'm going to do with the dog and etc. So different.
Don't kick it.
Different kind of thing. Actually, I'm asking my dog a mention this week because I lost him this week. Dear John, he's been with me there. He was 15 and we loved him as a family. So good old rest in peace, Johnny.
Oh.
It is. That's the hardest thing. Yeah. After the World Cup, last time I came back, I lost mine, so I know exactly the feeling. It isn't nice.
It's not, we're in a family when they lose a pet. It's like losing a family member, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is. Yeah.
Sad.
But in this year that you have had off as well, besides managing, you're saying you've learned kind of a role of the technical director as well.
No, because I think the game's changing, and the one thing that I found, particularly at a couple of clubs I was at, was that I didn't feel that there was enough pressure being taken off me by what might have been a technical director in place. And I think managers need that, particularly in the Premier League. You've got too much to deal with. You've got social media, you've got the agents, you've got the board, you've got the directors, etc., the fans, media. There's too much weight. And particularly with players, I think the technical director can take some weight off. When they're looking for a move or they're causing problems in the dressing room, I think the technical director can deal with that. Yeah. And you can keep the manager sort of out of that focus, and he can just deal with, it's like this situation with Roy and Wilf at the moment. You don't want that to be a personal situation. Roy wants to coach a team and get on with the team, and he wants to get the best out of Wilf now, and that's how they want to move forward. But you don't want to be stained by all the process, I want to go, and ringing Roy up, etc., etc. Yeah. So the technical director has an important role. The philosophy of clubs of such has to be in place because managers are turning over so quickly.
Yeah.
So you can keep the philosophy running through. So I think with the LMA, I spoke to them about it, about maybe putting courses on and helping managers like the ilk of myself to maybe come in and help younger managers, and that's something I've looked at and will look at.
As it evolved, when you first started out in management, would you have accepted a director of football?
Probably not, no, because, you know, at that time it was totally alien to us, and, you know, the manager was doing everything and doing all the deals and the transfers and even the financial side. Actually, when I come in, the financial side just crossed over, so I've never done the financial package. I've always been involved in, you know, what do I agree with the financial package that we've put together, i.e. What the chief executive and the agent have done, but not directly involved in the negotiations. So, you know, that side of it has changed, and I think with the pressure on Premier League managers and Championship managers as well, I think technical directors are very, very important.
It is an interesting side of the game, and you can see even at Arsenal what they've appointed Edu in that role. Man United were talking about it, so you can see.
Yeah, and
that
I think
a lot of
Jose
clubs
at
are
Man
adopting
United, I think he needed one.
Yeah.
I think it would have helped with the Pogba situation and everything else if he had someone else to maybe correct him and put him in his place a little bit. A technical director have a little word and say, well, hold on a minute, you know, you're a Man United player, you go and work with a manager and get on with it, and have that power to do that. And if you look at Manchester City as a model, I mean, you know, they took all the hierarchy out of Barcelona before Pep come, and he has this great support network around him, and that is a view that I think a lot of clubs are going to have to look at and think maybe we need that.
It is, it's evolving, that whole team behind the team.
Indeed.
We did ask for some tweets, and they have been coming in, Cammy. So, Alan, what do you miss and enjoy the most about not being directly involved in management?
Yeah, I think that's your immediate staff, you know, going to the training ground and the buzz of getting to the training ground. Because, you know, after, you know, in football, when you're in a big job in the Premier League, there's a lot of noise. The media are making all sorts of noises. This player, that player's upset, you're upset, da 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 da. But actually, when you get to the training ground, you have a cup of tea and, you know, you're just getting on with it, and that's just noise. So I miss that, and sort of putting together a coaching program for the week where you get hopefully a match at the end and a result.
Is a very interesting tweet also that we've got in. It has come from Peter Monaghan at Peter Monaghan 39. Asked Pars if he would have took the Newcastle job when Steve Bruce was offered it.
Well, actually, I'm still on a contract at Newcastle, as you're aware, with the 8-year contract that I got. So I still got 2 years.
Could have just took you back.
But no, that finished when I went to Palace. But no, I wouldn't have taken it because my time was done at Newcastle. You know, I thought I did a great job there. I left them when I was 9th, and I thought it was the right time. That the fans still never really took the link between me and Mike away. It was always like I was linked to him. So whenever he did something, it reflected on me and vice versa. So I think the break was at the right time, and it's now time for somebody else. And I wish Steve all the best. I sent him a message just the other day and wished him well because I genuinely think he's a top guy, and I think Newcastle, after Rafa, difficult to get a manager to follow him, and I think Steve could be the man.
Certainly a top guy, that's for sure.